Hey everybody, welcome to the Danger Zone Life podcast. This episode is all about learning what your point of no return is. I got a story to tell you, which is pretty scary. Listen to the intro, I'll be right back. So here's the deal. Life is like a roller coaster ride, but there's a secret to having a fear-free life. A life that's outside of your comfort zone, where it's fun, exciting, and dream-fulfilling. That life is in the Danger Zone. Hi, my name is Jon Melby. I'm a professional airshow pilot, and this podcast will teach you the secrets and the tricks that have a life in the Danger Zone. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Jon Melby. Welcome to our podcast. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about knowing where your point of no return is. And today, right now, I'm actually kind of driving around. I got to take care of a few things. It's just been busy, and then the hard part is be able to get all this stuff done that I need to get done, but I want to make sure it's productive too, and that's a difficult problem because maintaining productivity, but yet having something that's fruition, you have something that's completed, that's kind of nice. So anyway, I'm doing a little bit of driving around, but I was thinking about this a little earlier in the week about the point of no return, and I'm involved with a bunch of different things right now, and you know how it is when you start setting up for something and you plan, you organize, and then you get moving on a particular project, no matter what it is. So it could be your business, your personal life, your work, and you're getting involved and you're starting to move forward, and then you get like halfway through or almost halfway through. It's like, oh my gosh, what did I do this for? And there's a kind of a point of no return where you have to realize this beforehand, like where's my options for getting out. And I want to tell a story, so hang in there with me on this one. Never give a microphone to a pilot, especially an airshow pilot, because they'll tell you stories forever. But this is a good one. At least I think it is. So in 2010, I was flying an airshow up in Alaska, and I had to go from Arizona, fly up through Canada, and then from Canada, had to go through to Alaska. In British Columbia or even Alberta, when you go across over to Alaska, there's the Canadian Rockies there, and they're like 11 or 12,000 feet. In my airplane, I don't have tons of fuel, especially at that time, because I put another fuel tank on my airplane, but I didn't have a lot of fuel. So the only thing I could do is I had to go from Whitehorse, Yukon Territory, over to Northway, Alaska, and that's about an hour and 55, two-hour flight. But I didn't have enough fuel to fly along the highway that's up there. It's called the Elkan Highway. So if I lost a motor or something happened, I'd have a place to go. Instead, I had to go right over the top of these like huge mountains. And if you looked at my GPS from an aviation point of view, it's just like all brown and black because the terrain is so high. And it's just crazy. And I knew that before because I've done it before. But in this case, I looked at the weather and I decided I have a tailwind going over there, which is good. And there's like this low pressure system that sits in the Gulf of Alaska, and it's there like all the time. If you go to a map today, you'll probably see it, that there's a low pressure system sitting out there. And about every 3 or 4 days, it spits off a bunch of weather. And I'm trying to go in between that because I didn't want to get caught with that because I don't have instruments in my airplane. In other words, I can't fly in the clouds with my airplane. I have to stay visual. So you can't fly through clouds. And so I didn't want to have to deal with that. And the weather reporting there in between Northway, Alaska, and Whitehorse, Yukon Territory is like non-existent. You just got to use your experience. So I looked at the flight, and I have a tailwind going there. I've got plenty of fuel to make it as long as I have a tailwind, and I decided to go. And when I did, I was flying at about 12,000 feet or so, and I was dodging big puffy clouds, kind of going around them. And then all of a sudden I came around a cloud, and I went boom right into a big wall of clouds. And when I did that, I was just like, oh my gosh. What am I going to do? And so my airplane actually started going into a spin. I could hear it go, and I didn't know where I was at. I had no idea. It's kind of like flying with your eyes closed. And then I found the sun, and I took the airplane, I threw everything full power, full propeller, everything, and I just had the sun up above my head, and I could see it, and I just kept it there, and I just started climbing. I actually went up to 16,500 feet, and the problem with that is legally you can only go up to like 13,000 feet, 13,500 feet for 30 minutes, and that's it. I didn't have oxygen, but I had no choice. I had to go above these clouds, and when I got above the clouds, I'm at 16,500 feet, and then I'm breathing out, and it was so cold. It was like 20 below up there. I don't have a heater in my airplane. I'm layered with clothes, so that part wasn't too bad. But I was like freezing, and when I breathed, I'd have this cloud of condensation come out like I was smoking cigars or something. It was crazy. And I started getting ice forming on the outside of my airplane. I mean, everything you possibly think of going bad. And at that point, I decided, well, should I go back? Because, go back to where I started, a Whitehorse. And I was figuring this out, calculating it. Because I have a tailwind, there's no way that I could have turned around and gone back and made it okay. I would run out of gas. Not to mention, these clouds, I didn't know what they were doing. And where I was going to in Northway, Alaska, I had to fly for another 45 minutes up in this, really high up. And I started getting black and white vision because I was losing oxygen. So I had to pressure breathe. So holding your breath like that, and just hold your breath and then let it out after about 20 seconds to get as much oxygen as I could. It was insane. And then I'm thinking about, how in the world did I get in this position? Because I thought I had it figured out correctly. I thought I had it flight planned. I've got years of experience, yet this particular one almost killed me. This is the one that I've had several like this, but I don't know if it's stupidity, ignorance, or one of those things that happen. And I believe by the grace of God, I survived that one, because it should have killed me. If I wouldn't have found the sun, I would have spun into the ground. I would have spun in the mountains. And up there, it's so isolated, it would never have found me. So the thing is that when I got to that point, I was at this point of no return, and I decided, okay, I have no choice. I am moving forward. No matter what, I'm moving forward, and I'm going to have to deal with it. Here's what the issue is. At Northway, Alaska, the ceilings above the ground for the clouds were at 8,000 feet, and then I was up at 16,500, so that's a mile and a half of clouds, and I don't have instruments to get through the clouds. So I had to start figuring out, well, how am I going to get through this stuff without any instruments and without tumbling down and crashing? So I have a GPS that has a little thing that kind of tells you if you're turning left or right. I decided to use that, and I plugged it in, got all set up, and then I started descending through the clouds, and I made my descent. And every time I moved to the right, then I would move to the left. And I just kept on flying down through a mile and a half of clouds. It got really dark in the middle, and I couldn't see. And I'm like, oh God, I hope I make it through this. But it's one of those deals that I knew for a fact I couldn't go back. I had no choice but to go forward. I knew that I'm going to have a mess in front of me, but I'm just going to have to deal with it. And based upon my experience, little prayer activity going on up there, and a bunch of other things, that it's going to be okay. So I did make it through the clouds. I landed there at Northway, and that's where you clear customs in Alaska, because I was in Canada. I had to go to the United States and Alaska. And the dude that showed up there was this guy. He just got out of the military. He had a crew cut, perfectly pressed sleeves. I mean, just looked sharp. And I was freezing. I was shivering. He goes, sir, you need to step out of the aircraft so I can inspect it. And I said, I can't. I'm frozen. He goes, well, what happened? And I said, hey, were you in the military? Because I could just tell. And I asked him what his job was, and he was a sniper. So I was in the military, kind of hooked up, and he got me out of the airplane, got me a cup of coffee before he inspected my plane. But anyway, so that all turned out. So the point of all this is you have some options, in the things that you're working on, and you're looking at it. There has to be a point of no return. There has to be a thing where you're just totally committed, and whatever that is, and not like this. This is insane, flying airplanes and doing stuff like that. That's like life and death stuff. I'm talking about your day-to-day life, like I'm doing right now. I've got stuff that I'm working on, and I'm making decisions. Well, do I press forward with it? Is it worth pressing forward? It's not going to kill me, but financially it could hurt me. It could also affect my time. Remember if you watch the previous podcast, I talked about the 5 balls. I want to make sure I don't break the last one, which is my family, and then keep all the other ones up in the air. And so the thing is, pressing forward with something when you think that you've got it, you're set. This is where you have this time where we talk about doubt and the inability for you to make a decision, because you're like, I call it comatose, where you're just sitting there going, I don't know what to do. That's when you stop everything and you listen to that knower, that little knower deep down inside you. It says, you need to do this, but there's a million other things. Remember the devil and the angel podcast I talked about, where you got that devil sitting there going, you can't do it. It's not going to happen. You're going to have all these bad things happen. But down deep inside, you need to press forward. That's the point of no return. That's the one where you listen to. That's the one you go forward and you achieve whatever it is that you're working on. Half the dreams that you accomplish in your life, and look at your past. Look at the things that you've done so far, which are incredible, right? You've done all these great things, and you have so much more ahead of you. And I got to be honest, I've met a lot of people in my lifetime, and there's some people, there's like a category, I call it the 4 squares, but there's a category of people that they just want to sit on this planet and consume oxygen, go to work, get there, just have a job, and then they're figuring out their retirement plan and get a plot of land they could bury themselves in, and that's all they have going. If you're listening to this podcast, obviously either you're curious, but if you listen to more than one or two of these, then you're not one of those squares. You're one of those people that want to get stuff done, and you want to make it happen. You want to make this beautiful life ahead of you. And so those things that you have, those dreams that you have, figure out what that is, and you get to the point where you can return, you can go back from it and not get damaged, nothing gets hurt. Make that decision on the fly and figure out what that is. And then once you've realized, man, I can't go back, I've got to press forward with this, then you press forward and you deal with the consequences, you deal with everything that happens to you. And the wonderment of when you get done is you end up being like me. I got a whole bunch of these where I've had to have the point of no return, and that was the most dangerous. That was the one that almost killed me, but it's a story to be told. And if that never happened to me, of course I wouldn't have that story, but I think that's useful. And actually when I sit down and I'm just talking with a bunch of people that I'm meeting and they've asked me, well, what was the most dangerous thing that you've ever done? I'm like, well, I don't know, there's a gazillion different things, but that particular one was the one that could have killed me. And I walked away from it and I could tell the story. All right, so here's the deal. Ready for this? Is figure out what your point of no return is. Go consume whatever it is that you're going to go do and make it happen. And then if you need to back out of it, then back out of it. But otherwise, if you're committed, stay committed and make it happen so you can tell the stories, all right? We'll see you next time on the podcast. Y'all take care. Do you want to learn more about how to live life in a danger zone? My name is Jon Melby, and I'm a professional airshow pilot. Go to my website at jonmelby.com, and I'll give you a free guide on how to deal with the unknown, along with other resources on how to manage fear in your life to make you a more confident, successful you.